So first and foremost, John, how was retirement treating you, and what are you getting up to in your
Uh, it's been good so far. It's nice that Bitcoin is doing really good because it puts less pressure on me to start doing something else successfully right away. But no, I've been doing seminars and stuff more. It's a little bit hard with the lockdowns kind of kicking back up again, but I plan on doing more and more seminars. So people can reach me for seminars at leah@jonfitch.net, leah@jonfitch.net. That's the email. And I travel international. I got a passport. I might have to renew it this year though, actually. But yeah. So I've been teaching a long time. I actually have my degree was a teaching degree. So like I'm trained teacher, and I know how to fight. So I've been doing that. I've been putting content up from the seminars on this website called gumroad.com/Jon Fitch. That's my page. I have like courses and lessons up there people can download. Yeah, man. So I've just been trying to teach as much as possible since retirement. And then I'm in the process of forming another company that's basically like a marketing branding company. I'm going to try to help fighters and some other people out with building their social media profiles and monetizing the fame they have.
Absolutely brilliant. And can I ask, are you still training at AKA? And if so, how often?
AKA has been shut down since December
Yeah.
here because we're in California, and California went back into the hard lockdowns and everything. So like luckily I built a gym in my garage.
Yeah.
So I built that in you know, I've, I've been here a year and a half. I bought this place,
Yeah.
and that was the first thing I did was remodel the garage because my truck was too big for the garage. So I was like, that's gonna be wasted space. I might as well turn it into a gym and a recording studio.
Yeah. Makes the most sense, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
really does. To be honest with you,
I get to write the space off too. It's a
yeah.
workspace. So
Yeah. Yeah.
taxes, you gotta be smart.
I do watch your Instagram videos. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but what is the three words or the quote that you have? Is it written on a mirror?
It
What is
says
that?
it's your fault.
That's it. I love that
It's your
quote.
fault. It's a big whiteboard, and that's written on there, big poster. And yeah, because it is. Everything's your fault, guys. Sorry. People have been telling everybody for a long time that nothing's your fault, everything's okay. But no, everything's your fault. Everything that happens to you, regardless of whether or not it's your fault, it's your fault because you still have to deal with it. Like the actions that you take after whatever it is happened, the way you feel about it and the way you think about it, the way you react to it, it's all up to you. That's all you. So it's your fault.
I actually thought that was training based, which I'm sure it is being in your gym, but the way you've
It
just,
goes everywhere,
yeah,
you know, like chances are if you lost a fight somewhere on the line, you broke down and you made a mistake. You did something you shouldn't have done, or you forgot to do something. You left something out.
yeah. I actually, speaking about AKA, I don't know how much you work with him, but he did mention your name. I spoke to someone at AKA, Romero Cotton,
Mm-hmm.
before his fight. He had a great win in December, and he mentioned
Yeah.
he mentioned the likes of yourself and Josh the Punk Thompson and some others who've really helped him out. But he feels like there's maybe a new branch of AKA talent coming through.
Yeah, man, we got a lot of really talented guys that have a lot of potential. A lot of guys who were good, solid wrestlers. One of the obstacles we do have here in California is the expense.
Yeah,
It's really hard for a struggling fighter to make it out here. If you don't have a sponsor, somebody to pay your way part way while you're out here and training, like it can be an expensive place to live for a lot of guys, unless you're willing to do it the way we did back in the day when we were sleeping under the ring or sleeping on floors or sleeping on people's couches. I feel like this generation, they want their own apartment.
there's a lot more goes into, what is it, financial stability. You've just said it yourself. You're setting up a business for financial stability, which is a great thing nonetheless. But as you say, maybe the old school guys maybe just toughed it out a little bit more.
You just had to make it happen some way, like man, like when I was out here, I was surviving on $800 a month. That was excuse me, 2003 when I first moved out to California, and that was what I had to live off of. I had to make that much. I knew if I could make that much a month, I could pay for all the food and rent and everything I needed to, and I could train 3 times a day. So like I set everything up. I had to, as long as I could do that, I was happy.
Yeah.
But there are times that I had to race home from the bar and like deposit money into the bank because I was going to get overdraft in the morning if I didn't have the cash in there. So like there were some interesting times for sure.
Yeah, of course. And let's move on to your last fight, because that was your retirement fight. Second round loss to Neiman Gracie, and after the fight you decided to retire. I'm sure you've been asked this, but I feel like I need to ask it for my own benefit. Was the retirement something you have been contemplating prior to the defeat?
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about for a while. There's a lot of layers to it. It's not just like one thing.
Yeah.
My body feels fine. I've been sore and achy and hurt, since I started wrestling in the 4th grade. So it's not like, oh, I just can't do it anymore. It's the motivation to do a training camp's not really there anymore. And there's a number of reasons for that is, one, just the money, the sport has been restricted. Like we can't make the type of money that I think we should have been able to be making at this point. I think I'm 43 professional fights deep. I shouldn't be making the money that I make. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the money's out there. It's just being, sucked up by one company and, hoarded. But that along with, irregularity of fights, inconsistency of the fights, the fact that the sport itself is frustrating and it's not really, doesn't really operate as a sport. There's no cross promotional competition.
Yeah.
You don't really own or possess your rank or your title. You could be the world champ and get cut and then you're not a world champ anymore or something. Or like what happened to me with WSOF. I'm the world champ of the WSOF. They get new investors, they change their company's name and what they're doing, and then I'm no longer a champion. So, in boxing, they own the titles. The promoter can do whatever he wants to, but like the title still belongs to the boxer.
Yeah. Yeah.
The ring still belongs to them.
So, sorry, go on. My mistake.
Oh, I was saying the ring still belongs to them too. I think there was a there was a court case even in boxing, a landmark court case where it was something around the guy suing to keep his rank even though he was leaving a promoter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something we'll get into. Certainly, it's something that I would love to talk about. Another thing that I heard, and I actually do watch a little bit of your friend Josh Thompson's podcast. He mentioned, shout out to the Weighing In podcast for whoever's listening. It's a great podcast. But he mentioned it's one of the better ones, to be honest. But I saw him mention that with your career specifically, it was that you kept on winning, that you almost feel like you couldn't retire. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes. So I was thinking about retiring when I fought Jake Shields. I was like, if Jake beats me, I'm probably done. Because it was one of those things too. Is like I don't want to be an also ran. I want to be a top 5 guy who's fighting for titles.
Yeah.
I don't just want to be a journeyman who's fighting for paychecks. Fighting's cool and all, but I don't know. If we were making a bigger percentage, maybe it'd be more interesting. But yeah, so I just kept winning and I kept fighting these guys and I was like, well, maybe this guy will beat me. And then I fought Rory and I was like, okay, this will probably be the one. And, I went to that fight kind of thinking this is a good chance. I'm either gonna win this and be a world champ or I'm retiring. And we had a draw. And I was like, now what? So I had to do some serious self-reflection at that point.
I don't know if you know this phrase. It might be something that's over there in America, but over here, or specifically where I'm from in Liverpool, we have a phrase called sod's law. Do you know what that phrase means?
Sod's law?
Sod's law?
No, what's that?
Sod's law is basically what you've just said. You either want to win the fight and win the world title and progress into the rest of the Grand Prix, or you want to lose and go, okay, I'm going to ride off into the sunset.
And I get
it's a bit like, sorry.
We call that Murray luck.
What was that? Sorry, Mary luck.
Murray. My grandfather is an Irish. His father was an Irish immigrant. So the term Murray luck was kind of like shit luck.
Yeah.
That's basically what I had. I was like, I didn't win or lose. It was in the middle. So it was like, that's the shittiest luck you could have had.
Yeah.
Because you didn't get either what you wanted.
Uh,
Or it's like you get into a car crash and the car's totaled, but you get thrown free and like you don't get a scratch on your body.
yeah. Yeah.
That's Murray luck.
And to be honest with you, I always find that if a draw is legitimate, sometimes we see draws in combat sports that funny decisions or something like that. But if a draw is legitimate, it's always a little bit dissatisfying. But a draw in a title fight is just, it's like yourself and Rory. It's even BJ Penn and Carl Uno all them years back. It's just, it leaves that title position in such a funny predicament.
Especially in a tournament where you can't have another rematch. You have a rematch right away because you have to progress the tournament down the line.
Yeah,
it's just a dumb rule. I had one judge score the fight for me and two judges score it for a draw. I should have won.
Yeah.
I think, I had the most points on the scorecard. I technically should have won. Like I wouldn't think you'd want to eliminate as many possibilities for a draw as possible, I would think.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe they like that out in there. It's like the double zeros on the whatever roulette table. They want to make sure they have that thing to throw off the odds, that draw that could screw up the betting lines.
Yeah, the draws.
That's probably
always,
the only reason it exists, really.
Draws always about 30-1 or something like that, isn't it? It's always good odds on the draw. Yeah. Well, let's talk in what we were just discussing a little bit earlier, but about the class action lawsuit that's going on now. And last month, it was ruled that the identity class part of the lawsuit was rejected, but the bout class part of the lawsuit was accepted. Let's just get started for those who are unaware. Can you tell me the difference between the two?
Okay, so the identity class is the stuff that has to do with the video game rights and the Reebok shorts and anything that's outside of the cage.
Yeah.
Okay, anything that's outside of the cage, and that was a very small amount because the identity stuff hasn't grown. It wasn't as big as it is now. Now it's huge.
Yeah.
Like it's worth a lot more if they were to file another one today for it. So that was thrown out, but the bout class is still there, and that is our contracts involving our bouts for our fights and our promotional agreements. So we are claiming that they have used a monopolistic strategy in order to, monopolize titles and top ranked fighters in order to, monopolize the sport. So the judge said that we appear to have been damaged all in the same way. So he is granting us class certification. That means all the fighters who fought for the UFC from, I can't remember what month it is, but it's a month in December 2010, or is it not December, but maybe it's December, but month in 2010, maybe December, but and then all the way through 2017. So it's like 1,200 so fighters, something like that.
Yeah.
But all those fighters will recover damages if the court case finds that we've won, and the judge will decide, what the damages were and how to split them up or how to divvy them up. Yeah. But the next step actually is the UFC will appeal the class certification. So they're just going to draw. That's what they do. They draw it out. They draw it out. They draw it out. They keep putting on shows and making money.
Yeah. It's like anything, isn't it? It's like government or whatever. It gets. Yeah.
Like these big companies, they write into their budget every year. They know that they're doing illegal stuff. So they pad their budget for legal fees and legal stuff. Like it's just a part of their operating procedure. It's not like a big shock to them that they're getting sued. Yeah. They knew they were going to because they were breaking the law.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know there's a group of guys that are orchestrating this lawsuit. You are a big part of that, as is Nate Quarry, as is Kung Lee, as some others. What was the final straw or the kind of the seal for you that made you decide to go into this? Was there something that specifically happened at all?
No, I mean, when I was released with the UFC, I was just just kind of dismayed with how ridiculous the sport had kind of become in my eyes. Because I'd been saying already for years that it was becoming pro wrestling. This was more than 10 years ago. Like it's way over that point now. Pro wrestling, it's full on pro wrestling now. But yeah, so when I got cut by them, I started, looking what else to do. Like I don't like dealing with this stuff because they cut me in order for me to go somewhere else, win a couple fights, and then come back on my knees and beg them and fight for less money and be a good boy. And that's what they do to other people. Well, I'm not doing that. I don't like getting on my knees. It's like your dick because I need a job from you. It's ridiculous. So I was contacted by this law team, and they wanted to have a meeting with me. We sat down, we talked about it, and I had known for a long time that something was off and wrong with what the UFC was doing, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I wasn't sure what it was. So when the lawyers came to explain what was going on, pieces started falling in and connecting. And I got to say, like, the reason all this came about is because of Carlos Newton. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Carlos Newton? Right. So Carlos Newton is old school, right?
I've heard of Carlos Newton.
UFC.
Don't worry.
Okay. First UFC welterweight champ, right? Before I think Miletich beat him, and then he beat Miletich, and then he beat Hughes beat him.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the the KO triangle.
Yeah.
Matt Hughes is in the triangle, slam him. I think that was that one. Yeah. But anyway, so Carlos, he's a really smart guy, super smart dude, like really nerdy genius smart. And he could tell that something was wrong with the sport too and wasn't sure about it. Well, I butted heads with the UFC because I knew something was wrong. He went and studied. He went away to school, and he found out the restraints in the market and what they were doing, and he figured it out. He cracked the code, and then he started hunting down this lawyer Rob Macy, who'd been trying to help fighters fight against shitty promoters for a while. He'd had a few lawsuits and stuff that he'd help with. So Carlos stalked him, camped out in his office for days until Rob finally said, okay, fine, I'll help you. And Rob helped him put something together to start looking for law firms to take on the case. And they found the law firm that we have, and here we are 6 years later, and we have class certification.
Yeah, it's been a long road, hasn't it? Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And looking back on your UFC career, how do you feel like you were treated by the company?
Awful. They treat everybody awful. It's exploitative for sure. Especially they pull when they're building the sport, they're hey, we're all in this together, guys. We all got to make sacrifices. We got to make this a sport that everybody loves. We're all in this together. And then they're basically telling you to get brain damage, hurt yourself, take a bunch of big risks to build up this company, but they weren't going to return any of your work and effort and labor into it. They built this $1 billion company. They're not returning anything back to the fighters.
Yeah.
It was a scam. Yeah. They talked you into doing something work for them, and they didn't pay you for it. Come on, just do the work. Just build the house. It's going to be great. We're all going to get to sleep in it. And when the last nail goes in, they lock the door and you're outside.
How much do you feel like you were how far away was your pay with the UFC to where you think it should have been? If you don't want to go into specific figures, you don't have to, but how do you think it was a ways away from what?
I'm not an economist. All I know is that there are restraints put on the market that prevent me from maximizing what I can earn. Okay. So me as I was ranked number 2 in the world under GSP for 5 to 7 years or something like that. And part of the excuse of them not giving me a second fight is because, you fought him once and you've been ranked this long time and whatever, no one wants to see it. Well, sign for that promotion and that title. I could have said, okay, you don't want me to fight for that title. In boxing, if it was boxing and I would have not less restraints in the market, I could have went and fought for a different title for a different organization. Not and it's sanctioning bodies there that hold the titles, not the promoter. So I could still be signed with a promoter and then fight for a different sanctioning body's title, or UFC wouldn't be able to dictate who got the fight for the title. The sanctioning body would.
Yeah.
So if the promoter was being shitty to me, I could leave and go to another promoter.
Yeah.
Well, like I could still get access to the same title. Well, those restraints that are put on the market, I can't do that. I can't get to the UFC title unless I'm signed with them as a promoter.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't like me because I want my value and money, then I can't get it. Well, that's a restraint. Like I'm a private business. For them to say I can't do business with other businesses, it's like McDonald's saying, "Hey, Arby's, you can't sell beef anymore."
Yeah.
No, sorry. Like, yeah, I have every right to fight for the highest title as anybody else. But because of the way of the structure of our sport, that's not the way it works.
And especially the distinction between the fact that UFC fighters aren't actually staff, they are independent contractors.
Yes,
The
they're
definition of,
independent contractors, but they are treated as staff, 100%.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It's a very, very strange thing because the clue's in the title, isn't it? Independent contractor. Now, the idea of a contractor is they can pick and choose where they work, but with you guys, there is a restriction on where you can fight. And as you're saying, if you're number 2 in the world for so long, and they don't want to give you that title shot, you are to a certain extent stuck.
So I don't want to bash the contracts completely, because you have promotional agreements and you do sign a promotional agreement to these people, but it's a little different than like a plumber, because the plumber's not competing against other plumbers to win the golden wrench.
Yeah.
And if he wins the golden wrench, he gets double the money on all his plumbing jobs, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit different because the product's different, because we have labor and the product. We're the labor and the product.
Yeah.
We're the plumber and the pipes.
Yeah.
I guess. So, but the idea is that if you can go to somewhere else, if I can fight for a different big title, or I can go to a different promoter, then it makes the promoters compete for me in my business, because the promoters are service providers. Excuse me. Your cell phone is a service provider.
Yeah.
Right. Because you imagine if your cell phone was like, "Oh no, we don't have any calls for you right now. You're gonna have to wait." Like, we're just not gonna give you any calls right now. You have to sit out for a little while.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. But yeah, so like we just need to remove some of the restraints from the market. I would love, in my fantasy world, I would like to see Zuffa and UFC split into 2 companies.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's Zuffa Promotions, and UFC is the sanctioning body. And then the UFC can sign all of the promoters under one sanctioning body.
Yeah, I see.
So then you have promotional titles, and then those guys can fight for the sanctioning body UFC title.
Yeah.
I think that's genius. I think it's genius.
Well, that is what happens in boxing to a certain degree. As you say, boxing in some ways has worked out for the fighters, because there isn't there isn't a best belt in boxing. There's maybe more prettier ones, but there isn't. If you're the WBC champ, you are better than the WBA.
And there's a lot of fans who get mad at that. Oh, there's more. There's so many belts. Well, there's actually more belts in MMA, because every promotion has a belt in MMA.
Yeah.
But you have 4 main ones in boxing. But because you have 4 main ones, you have more leverage to make more money as those fighters, because they don't have to bend over for that sanctioning body of that title.
Yeah.
They're being a dick, or they don't like you. Like, you can go to another belt and make money with the other belt. Like, you get to continue doing business. So, I mean, it's hard to make the fans understand that. I think what kills a lot of the enjoyment from watching boxing, and it's going to happen in MMA too, is the platforms to watch the sports. Right? They're becoming so many paywalls to watch. I think that's what happened with boxing, is everything got put behind a paywall with pay-per-view. Like, people loved boxing back in the 80s and the 70s and 60s because it was free on like network television, right? They would put Howard Cosell and free on network television. Boxing is great. Yeah, because it's like put into this one little compact thing, and you get to swallow it all in one. You don't have to go searching for it. You don't have to follow. You don't have to read and do a bunch of extra stuff. It's just right there.
And in some regards, we talk about, some fans will say, and I can't discount myself as being part of this, is that one thing about the UFC is the bigger fights are made quicker in boxing. Bigger fights are made in the UFC than, say, in boxing. the flip side of that is that somebody like yourself, who's, let's say, a higher ranked boxer, can make very good money fighting people who aren't as good as you.
I push back on that. They make the best fights happen. I disagree. I think we miss more fights in MMA than in boxing.
Do you think so?
And if the fights don't happen in boxing, it's because not enough people were interested in it. Not enough people put enough money down for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want two guys to fight, pay up.
Yeah, you're completely right. Yeah.
You want these two guys to fight, pay up. Make them, you pay them enough, they're going to fight. They're going to do it. So like, if that's the complaint. It's like, you're trying to enslave people. No, I say that you must fight. Do what I say. I'm the emperor. No, you don't get to do that. Pay the guy. But like, I feel like we have, we never got to see Fedor and Randy Couture. That fight could have happened. Like, there's so many fights that could happen. Who knows what the world will look like if we had something that the Ali Act provided, where the number one contender, we had independent rankings, right? Independent titles, and the number one contender has to fight the number one ranked guy every year, at least once every 12 months. Well, that would change the landscape immeasurably.
Yeah,
you could see a lot, having actual real ranks. That'd be nice.
That was actually my next question, about the Ali Act. I can tell from what you're talking about that you are a clear proponent of the Ali Act, as am I. But how much do you think the implementation of the Ali Act in MMA would help the situation that we're talking about?
Well, so one of the problems that Ali Act has with boxing is, or people say, is it's not enforceable. Well, it is, but you have to understand it. You have to know it. And then you have to know when it's being violated. And then you have to have the money to sue. Yeah. So there are problems, but where boxing failed, I hope we do not. And that would be a strong athletic association. Yeah. Okay. Because then you have an organization that has money and time to push the lawsuits and make sure that the Ali Act is being enforced. So the Ali Act is just the backdrop of laws. Okay. It just has something to push the promoter up against. But if you don't push them up against it, it doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah.
And a lot of boxers are clueless. They have no idea that the Ali Act exists.
Yeah. Yeah. It's often something that is just kind of said, like, metaphorically, isn't it? It's the Ali Act. It's like people don't actually know.
It is. People don't really know anything about it. I like to say that there's like four main things: independent rankings and titles. So the promoter doesn't control the title anymore. Don King never controlled the belt. He always had to go through sanctioning bodies. It ends like crappy, unscrupulous contracts. So one of the tactics UFC likes to do is they'll be like, oh, hey, we know you haven't fought in 6 months and you have no money and you're starving. We have a bout agreement ready for you to fight this guy. But before we can send you this bout agreement so you can make money and eat and feed your family, you have to sign this 10-fight promotional agreement.
Yeah.
Right? For shit money. Yeah. And you're like, well, can we negotiate this contract? Oh, I guess you don't want to fight. I guess you don't want to fight anymore. That's how they negotiate. And then you're like, oh, well, okay. And then you have to take the shit deal. And now you're stuck in a 10-fight contract just because you wanted, you didn't want to starve. So it would eliminate that type of stuff. It would also make the title winner. If you win a world title, you become a free agent.
Yeah.
That way they can't use these never-ending contracts. UFC uses these never-ending contracts that, like, you'll never ever get out of being in contract with them as a title holder. You'll always fight as a champion while you're the champion for them. Like, you can't leave unless you retire.
Yeah.
And then finances. You get to look at their finances. So you get to see how much money they made, how much money they spent, how much everybody got paid. So you have the ability to negotiate a better deal for your next fight.
Yeah. Yeah. So
what about that? What about that? Sounds like it's going to kill boxing or kill anything. Tell me where the negative is in that. That's what it's doing.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're believing that it's going to kill boxing, or it's going to kill MMA, like, you're just using a promoter's talking point.
Yeah.
You're just repeating them. You're a parrot. You have actually no opinion because you don't Like, I don't see where you could poke a hole in any of those things.
100%. In fact, actually, you've actually changed my mind, to be honest with you, John. What I said earlier about how the best fights are made, you're completely and utterly right. The point being is in the UFC, the best fights are forced, whereas in boxing, the best fights are negotiated, and if they're not negotiated correctly, then they don't get made. Is that maybe more of a fair assessment?
Oh, that's a good way. Yeah, they're forced rather than negotiated. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. What do you want to see change in MMA? If you could give me a couple of, maybe let's say three major things that you think need to be changed in the sport.
The biggest would be titles being removed from the promoter.
Yeah.
I think that is probably the biggest thing. If you could remove the title from the promoter, a lot would change. Number two is a big one too. I would like for fighters to have the ability to retire, and then 6 months later, all contracts are null and void.
Yeah. As opposed to contracts being frozen
forever.
Yeah.
Sit out for 6 months, you're free man.
Yeah.
That would I mean, I don't need three. You give me those two.
Those two.
Yeah. You give me those two, and pretty good, because then everybody who's unhappy with their contract can sit out half a year and then look for something better.
Yeah. And can I ask, I know this lawsuit is specifically for the UFC. Obviously, you fought in the World Series of Fighting, and I think you had one fight as it was formerly under the PFL. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. And then obviously you're running Bellator.
It wasn't a tournament though, or part of their tournament. It was just a one-off show.
I think was it PFL 1, if memory serves?
I think so, probably. Yeah. I fought Brian Foster, main event Daytona in a rainstorm.
memorable one.
Oh man, we got there, and we'd all just gotten there. We all just got into the place, and we were supposed to have at least 2 hours till the first fight start.
Yeah.
We get in there. People haven't started putting their bags down yet. We're in tents outside. It's raining, and since it's raining, the race is canceled. Yeah. So like they have a bunch of drunk people at the stadium that they need to entertain. So Ray Seffel comes in the back. He's like, "All right, guys, we got 15 minutes, first fights." Everybody's like looking around. I was like, all right, guys, we got it. We're pros. Let's go. Come on, start warming up. Let's get it. That was hilarious. It was just comedy all night.
Can I ask, is that the best? Whilst I've got you on, is that the best MMA story you've got for me, or is there something else?
There's a bunch. There's a bunch of them. I don't know. They come and go sometimes, though. that is a good one. Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I didn't have any other ones prepared.
We'll leave it with that then. But the point I was going to make is we have, after your UFC run, you fought in World Series of Fighting. You did have a fight under the PFL, and you fought in Bellator. Looking at the landscape of the sport now, these issues that we're talking about, do you think that they've got better, and do you think that the options that fighters now have improved?
Oh man, so I feel like the guys have had every opportunity to learn and know what's going on, but most of these guys are just sitting it out and waiting and see. They're playing a wait and see strategy because they see other people already doing work, and they're like, "Oh well, I'm comfortable in my spot right here. I'm just gonna kind of chill and wait and see what those guys are doing, and then hopefully it gets better." And that's just going to take a lot longer. It's going to take a lot longer, like, because we had 58 co-sponsors on our Muhammad Ali Act bill.
Yeah.
If we would have had 50 fighters show up, we had 10 UFC fighters, a couple champs show up and lobby, it would have been passed already.
Yeah.
Like, if any one of those UFC guys that got to meet Trump would have said something to him about it, made a big deal about it, that was a huge opportunity. It was a huge chance for George Masvidal or one of those guys to be like, "Hey man, Ali Act, we really need the Ali Act."
Yeah. Yeah.
But until guys stand up in mass, it's going to be slow inch by inch legal battle, basically. Well, so if you want to secure the bag, you want to secure the bag, guys, sooner. Like, get your ass in gear, mobilize with us.
To be quite candid with you, John, what sometimes happens is your movement will get drowned out by the UFC's event on the 16th, the UFC's event on the 20th, the pay-per-view on the 23rd,
Yep.
and it just gets mass, doesn't it? And that's not me being derogatory, that's just
No.
me being truthful.
Yep. No, they just keep cranking out shows and letting their lawyers do what they do. I mean, they're prepared. They had the budget set aside for it.
Yeah, unfortunately they did. Now, I know you've just mentioned that the UFC will appeal this ruling. If this appeal is unsuccessful, what are the next steps in this court case?
Well, next step is trial.
Yeah.
Trial. So they'll start. I'm not exactly sure how that'll work, especially in COVID. I mean, it might be more than a year from now before that happens, and then it'll just be experts going back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, and then the judge and the jury has to decide on which experts are lying.
You think that will be an easy pick?
I mean, you never know because you don't know what jury you're getting.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know who the jury is. It depends. You know, you get a jury who is really poor and thinks that anybody making over $1,000 to do anything is a rich person.
Yeah.
They're not gonna take kindly to somebody complaining about making $50,000 instead of $5 million. Like to them, it's all the same.
Yeah. It sounds a lot like a lump sum, doesn't it? But then if you have 2 fights in a year, it's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
No.
And you live in California, and and I mean, you're paying people out. I mean, you're probably paying, 25-30% of your winnings off the top, and that's before taxes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's, but people look at it as, oh, it's a sport. You're playing a game. You're getting paid to play a game. I wish I could play a game and get paid. But so you don't know, like you get 2 or 3 of those in a jury that could sway a decision.
Yeah. Well,
or maybe get a freaking blood curdle or blood thirsty like a corporatist or something. And he's just like, it's their business. They should be able to do whatever they want. And you don't know. It's a gamble. It's a gamble when you're talking about a 12-person jury.
Yeah, it is. But I suppose in that regard, we can only wait and see, can't we? And we can hope for the best to a certain degree.
Yeah.
John, I am completely in support of your case, as I am with all the guys. It's something that I actually do feel quite strongly about. Before we end this interview, how can people find both the case and your own social media?
MMAFA is one of our handles on Twitter and Instagram. And that's Rob Macy runs and posts a lot of stuff up there on that. I'm Jon. Go to jonfitch.net and you can sign up for my newsletter. I have links to all my social media. I have links to the Gumroad courses. Everything's there on my website.
Yeah. And I believe you're also running a podcast now as well, Jon Fitch.
Yep, Jon Fitch Knows Nothing. I have Fitch and Tinkle Smash Everything. I got a bunch of podcasts and shows I do actually. So like, it would take so long to list everything. Seriously, go to jonfitch.net and go down the rabbit hole because I'm busy. I'm always doing stuff. I got like ADD, like content ADD. Like today I'm gonna do this. Today I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna write this today.
The life of a fighter.
Yeah.
And before we end this, John, is there anything you would like to sign off with at all?
No, man, just there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now. Focus on the stuff you can control. Your health and diet and mental health are all in your control. Like focus on those first. Don't miss your workouts, even though like the quarantine, all that shit. Like eat right, get on a good eating schedule. Like, don't just be like, oh, I'm locked in. I'm not going to work out and I'm going to eat shit food. Like you're going to get depressed. You're going to get anxiety. And then if, riots do really start, like you're going to be a fat blob during the zombie apocalypse. Like it's not going to work out for you. So stay in shape and, keep your friends in contact, mental health good. stay prepped.
It's your fault.
No, it's your fault.
Well, John, thank you for your time. It was an absolute honor. As I said at the start, it was a big honor of mine to speak to you. I am a very, very big fan.
It's good talking to you, Michael.